Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs in society, all you stinkos, all you sycophants, all you rock dwellers, all you hateful people who celebrate America. You're always welcome here, and this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me as my co-host is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, and that is George Landreth. George, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
It's great to be here. This is the place to be.
Well, George, notice ever since that Biden has been inaugurated, I haven't changed the opening because those are the words that side called our side for the past 4 years.
And some of those words were Biden's words, by the way.
And I don't think the tenor is going to change any. I think Biden should have come in to office and saying, look, let's put our differences aside for the good of the country. We need unity. We need peace. We need harmony. We need to learn to get along with each other. But I don't think that's what we got in the inauguration space. And I don't think that's what we're going to get the next 4 years.
Well, he gave us a lot of lip service about unity. I mean, a lot of his talk or his speech was essentially telling everyone, please be unified, please be unified, please unify behind me, please be unified. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, that's not actually what unity is. Unity is when you seek, if you want to encourage people to be unified with you, you have to work at it and you have to demonstrate you mean it. It's not just a demand for unity. And so really what it comes across that, particularly while they're silencing us, shutting you down on Twitter and all these other places, what it sounds like to me is he's just basically saying, again, the same thing we've heard all along when they talk about unity, which is you need to shut up and you need to get back in line with us. And that's not actually unity. If he'd said something more akin to this, I think you would say, okay, maybe he's serious. He could have very easily just said, you know, our politics in America has gotten increasingly hostile towards each other. And too often, both sides can do it. But it's this, you disagree with me, therefore you're a bad person. And we need to step back from that. And I want to be sincere and demonstrate my sincerity. So I'm going to, I'm calling upon people like Twitter to stop just trying to silence one side. That's not helpful. And they can give us all the excuses they want about they're trying to cut down on violence. But the reality is it's pretty obvious what they're doing. And then likewise, I am going to ask Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to put this whole impeachment stuff behind us. We need to move forward as a nation. And I hope that, some people who voted for me might be mad I just said that. But the reality is unity is about two sides that have lots of disagreements saying, let's put them aside. And I'm trying to show you my good faith. And I'm going to ask you for your good faith. And that is, you don't have to agree with me all the time for us to be unified. But let's at least give it a try and let's not assume the worst of each other. Would that have been unifying? I think it would have been but he didn't do that. All he said was, we need to be unified. We need to be unified. You need to follow me. We need to be unified. It's like, shut up, Joe.
Well, his first day in office, in my opinion, he pulled a lot of polarizing tricks. For instance, he's recommitting the U.S. to the Paris Climate Accord. He's stopping the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. He's ending the travel ban. He's stopping border wall construction. There's a lot of things that he did in his first day that, in my opinion, is not just a slap in the face of Donald Trump, but a slap in the face of the American people.
Yeah. Well, and I'll use the example of the border wall. I understand that there's a difference of opinion on how to handle immigration. And you and I are of one mind on that question. But a border wall doesn't prevent you from pursuing your options. Meaning, if Joe Biden wants more open borders, he can still have them because walls have gates or doors in them. And so the fact that this is a symbolic issue for him. A nation ought to have a wall. And then obviously our policy, we can have a conversation about how often we open it and how wide we open it and who we let in. But
there's going to be no conversation, George.
there won't be
There's
one.
going to be no conversation.
Of course there's not.
It's going to be.
That's why they stopped this construction.
Those past 4 years didn't mean a thing. We're going back. And by the way, I don't call him Biden. I call him O'Biden, because what his policies are a stop and the pause of the Obama administration policies. He's talking with Iran again. He wants to go back into that bad Iranian nuclear deal. I mean, there's so many things that it's his cabinet picks. When you look at his cabinet picks, half of them were associated with the Obama administration. And when you look at his cabinet picks, my gosh, George, you want to be on his cabinet, either you be, as I said, a former official in the Obama administration, you be a woman, you be black, you be a Hispanic, you be a minority, or you be gay. That's not, it's a political correctness. It's political correctness on steroids, George. All his cabinet picks are not in light of, they're not who can best serve the country. They're picked by sex, by race, by sexual origin. As I said,
and some of them are already
members of the Obama administration.
Some of them are very clearly failed previous federal officials, like Susan Rice.
Rice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A complete joke. And but having said that, one of the things I found most interesting, however, was who internationally is really excited that Joe Biden was inaugurated just the other day, and exactly. The answer is Iran. Officially came out and talked about how awesome it was, and how about China? Yes, China too. Talked about how they're glad to be done with Trump. Why? Because Trump was holding their feet to the fire. He was not letting them get away with the COVID virus. He was not letting them get away with stealing all our jobs. He was basically saying enough of this. And so they got a lifeline, because they've got a guy, in the case of the Chinese, who's basically, his family's on the payroll. And then, of course, you've got the regime in Tehran that is repressive and cruel. But for whatever reason, Obama sent them bundles of cash, small unmarked bills. It's like, what are you thinking? What possible good could come of that? I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand the argument that perhaps an agreement or an accord might be helpful. But how is it possible that the biggest state backer of an instigator of international terrorism, you send them hordes of cash? What good comes of that? Anyhow, it's just crazy.
George, in light of that, we had Robert Knight, writer for the Washington Times, on the other day. He wrote a terrific article. When communists are happy. Just think of that. When communists are happy. If you can fill in that title. When communists are happy, that means things are bad are happening in the United States.
You could say the same thing about the mullahs and the extremists and the totalitarians in Iran.
Bingo.
If they're happy.
When you talk about the Iranians, when you talk about the Chinese being happy, why are they happy? Not because America is stronger, not because America is better protected. It's America is now more vulnerable for them to take action against us.
Absolutely. Right? No, you hit the nail on the head. That's what they're happy about. They're excited about that, right. And that should be a pretty strong sign. And what's interesting is China was pulling for Biden all along. And we all know why. Another strong
sign here, George. Another strong sign here. Trump receives Morocco's highest award for his Middle East work. Morocco, a Muslim state, a Middle Eastern state, a state that previously called America the Great Satan, is now giving Donald Trump its highest award.
I thought. Wait a minute. I thought that Donald Trump was a xenophobe and that he had that Muslim ban and he hates Muslims. Isn't that what they told us? You mean they lied to us?
Again and again and again. Well, George, let's take a break, and you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth and yours truly, Rick Trader. And today's show, like all our shows and all our shows to come, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Don't go away. George and I will be right back.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
And once again, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth and yours truly, Rick Trader. And just a little bit of an explanation. I'm not hiding. I'm not in incognito. I'm not afraid the Biden administration is going to find me. I'm wearing these glasses because I had a bit of an eye surgery last week. And so I wear these glasses because the eye is still sensitive to light and to protect the eye a little bit. But if you'd like to find out more about my surgery, check out my Facebook page, Rick Trader on Facebook. I explain on there, but you know what my surgery was all about. But just to let you know, I'm not hiding. I'm not going into hiding. I'm here. I'm staying here, and I'm going to fight the Obama, not the Obama, the Biden administration for the next 4 years. George, we've got three great guests joining us once again here on Conservative Commandos, and tell us a little bit about them.
Well, we've got our first one out of the gate is Tom Beccaro, and we've had him many times. He's a friend of the show. He's been many times, but he's a columnist for Fox News and the Epoch Times. He's also former chairman of the Republican Party in California and a U.S. Senate candidate from California. And we'll talk to him about kind of inauguration week and what to expect going forward. We might even get a little bit into the recall effort with Governor Newsom. Yeah.
Yep.
And then our next guest is Dan Gainor. He's the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. And we're going to talk about media and their coverage this week. And it's been embarrassing, to be honest. So I think it'll be a great conversation with Dan because they certainly gave him lots of information. And our final guest is at least a new one for me. I really think that he's going to be a great guest because this is a guy who's a former Wisconsin state senator, and he's a former member of Governor Scott Walker's administration. And Governor Scott Walker, of course, was a real bright spot when he was serving, and you could tell by how much everyone. We're going to talk to him about some of the energy issues that Joe Biden's delving into, and some of the damage that he's likely to do to our country and our economy using energy as the rationale.
All right. Well, George, the inauguration, there was something, I believe, in the Capitol for this inauguration that maybe we haven't seen since 1865, or the second inauguration of Abraham Lincoln. Of course, that was right at the end of the Civil War when there was a lot of federal troops in the nation's capital. But this year, for this inauguration, there was over 25,000 National Guard troops there. And from what we understand, there was no protest, there was no violence, there was no burning, there was no looting. Very interestingly, that the National Guard was not called out when Antifa and Black Lives Matter was rioting in Washington, burning, looting, robbing, and probably doing a lot of other crimes.
Yeah, the whole city was boarded up. It was, it reminded me of pictures of World War II Germany after they were bombed by the Allies.
Well, and, Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., was calling for machine gun emplacements. And I make the argument that those 25,000 troops and the calls for machine gun emplacements were not to protect Joe Biden. I'll make the argument that they were a show of force for the rest of us and say, you know what, we are in charge. And it kind of made me think of the inauguration in 2017 when there was looting, when there was riots, when there was violence,
there were fires.
Cars were set on fires, when friends of mine attempting to attend the inaugural ball were pushed, shoved, spit on, had beer thrown on. There was no troops, nor was there any media coverage of that, George Landreth, which was mysteriously absent. But here we go again.
No, you're right. And what was interesting was my understanding is virtually everyone who was arrested, and there were over 200 of them, was eventually just let go. There was no real attempt to hold people accountable. It's like, well, we kind of understand why they're upset. I mean, come on, Orange Man bad. What do you want? It's like, it's the same garbage we always see. We saw this all summer long, right? I remember there were people who told me when I said I object to rioting and violence and burning and looting, I remember them saying flat out, I needed to try to understand their rage. And it's like, oh, okay, I see. So some violence and some rage and some killing of policemen, we need to understand that. And then other times we don't need to. It's it's just they're white supremacists or whatever they want to call them.
Sure. Can you imagine the outrage if 25,000 National Guards and machine gun emplacements were called out during the Black Lives Matter riots? They weren't protests. There were riots. The Antifa riots. Could you imagine the national outrage? Can you imagine what they would have been saying about President Trump? I mean, that he's ready to kill people. Notice there was no one shot and killed. No one died during the Black Lives Matter protests, during the Antifa protests, at least people that were shot by the police. Right. However, there were people shot by the police on January the 6th. I think that they were people that were in the wrong place at the wrong time. But where's the riots and the protests over that poor woman being killed? I mean, if that was a Biden supporter, if that was a member of Black Lives Matter or Antifa, I say Washington, D.C. would be in ashes. George.
That's part of the problem when you look at everything through a racial lens and assume that race explains everything. I've seen friends on Facebook, and I just roll my eyes and think all you're doing is demonstrating your lack of intellect, when all you do is everything's based on race. So, they'll say things like, the rioters in D.C. were not treated like real rioters because they were white. And I'm kind of like, well, time out. A lot of them really weren't rioters. They just ran past security and then they went in and took selfies. Now, there were rioters.
Ran past security? George, I beg to differ. But I have seen video.
Well, some of them were invited in.
I have seen video of people in police uniforms pulling back the barricades, waving people in.
Right.
Now, I don't know, in fact, that they were police. Could they be Antifa members that somehow got a police-looking uniform?
Yeah.
That's what I saw, George. I saw the police holding the doors open for people. Hello?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were people, obviously, who committed acts of
George,
violence.
Have you ever visited the Capitol?
Many times.
Have you ever visited the Senate office building?
Many times.
Have you ever visited the House office building?
Again, many times.
So these are public properties, George.
Yeah.
And when somebody's holding the door open for you, waving you in, what do you think?
Yeah, you go in. No, I agree. Now, some of them there were obviously people who broke windows and climbed through door and other things, and I'm not defending any of that.
I'll make the argument that those were the actions of what I have seen at Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots, rallies, whatever you want to call them. I saw, going back to January 6th, people pushing and fighting with the police. Something else I saw at Black Lives Matter and Antifa rallies or riots. Rallies/riots. I saw these guys taking a barricade and smashing the door in. Something else I saw at Antifa, Black Lives Matter rallies/riots.
Right.
But you know what, George? I've been to many, many Trump rallies, Tea Party rallies, 9/12 rallies. I never saw any of that activity. Never saw anything like that at those rallies, George.
Right.
What I saw on the 6th of January was exactly, not similar to, but exactly the way I saw Antifa and Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Their rallies.
Right. I don't dispute any of that.
I say those are the people that perpetrated the storming of the Capitol.
Right.
Other people follow them in, but like I said, when you got police pulling back the barricades, when you have police waving people in, some of those people went in. And you know what was interesting? I want to make, and George will have to take a break. We're running along on these segments. But what I found interesting, when they did show shots from inside the rotunda, the Hall of Statues, you know what I saw? I saw a line of people walking through.
Yeah, taking selfies and stuff like that.
Taking selfies, people going over and looking at the statues. You know what they reminded me of?
They weren't tearing them down.
They were tourists.
Yeah, no, I agree. I saw a lot of footage of tourists. And there was some stuff that happened that shouldn't happen there. So I'm not denying that. Well, we just don't know exactly who they were and what their motives were. But
we know this one guy, John Sullivan. There was a guy by
he was
John
definitely
Sullivan,
Antifa. We know that.
Who's Antifa, who's Black Lives Matter, who's been involved, been in trouble with the police before. By the way, he was let go.
Right.
And very interesting.
But they tell us that it's that's my point, though. If you see everything through race, why was he let go? He's a black man. And yet they always tell us that, oh, well, if he'd been white, the police would have acted differently. It's like, okay, wait a minute. This is a guy who was let go, and he's black. So I'm tired of them trying to explain everything because of the melanin in someone's skin. It's just like, this is stupid.
It is stupid. George, let's take a break and get our first guest on. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth, yours truly, Rick Trader. And don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be talking with our friend Tom Del Beccaro about the happenings in Washington this week and also some news coming out of
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and zero deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Of course, that because of the Conservative Commandos radio network, the AUN-TV network. And if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers that carries our signal, Al Gore comes to the rescue with his amazing internet. We are truly everywhere, except for maybe North Korea and China and Iran, but that's the regime's fault, not the reach of the show. I'm George Landreth. I'm glad you're here. I'm really excited to have a great conversation with Tom Del Beccaro. He is a friend of liberty, and he's a friend of the show. And if you don't know him, he actually is your friend because he's out there every day arguing for you. He does this at Fox News. He does this at Epoch Times, Fox Business. He's former chairman of the California Republican Party and a former U.S. Senate candidate from California. And he's also the author of The Divided Era. Tom, if you've got that, you can flash that up. It's a great book. It helps people understand what's actually happening from an historical perspective, so I highly recommend it. He's also written a book called The New Conservative Paradigm, and he's the publisher of politicalvanguard.com and tomdell.com. So with that, Tom, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Great to see you, and also doing a lot of Newsmax these days.
I bet you
a
are.
lot of people. A lot of people have transferred over to that.
Yeah.
Brave new world, George. Right. You saw it from the beginning, and anybody who, when Lincoln was inaugurated afterwards, same with Jackson. When they were inaugurated, the White House was open, and people just could walk through the White House, and they had a party there and met the president. Now we come to 2021, and Joe Biden presides over in effect, military occupation around the White House. None of the martial law or Trump's going to do horrible things, the lies they told about, none of that came true. There wasn't rioting across the nation, none of that. That was all a construct meant to do what Biden and Harris did on their first day, which is crack down on dissent. They wanted to have us all be good Americans and a turn to the new presidency in the manner in which they wanted us to.
Yeah, I thought the call for unity, while the words themselves were fine, but the context of it really felt an awful lot like someone was pointing a finger at me and threatening me and telling me, you will unify with us or you'll pay a price. But it was, more stealthily. But you just look at how they're silencing everybody and all this other stuff, and it didn't really feel like a call to unity.
No, and you can't have unity when you pit Americans against each other. During that speech, they talked more about domestic terrorism than China, Iran, and Russia combined. He didn't talk about a need like Reagan did or JFK to have America be safe and secure in the international fields anywhere like those guys did. Instead, it was more, we're going to crack down. And look, the Obama administration cracked down on dissent, that you use the IRS to do that and things of that nature. So this is more of the same.
They even wiretapped the press.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. And so the last time Obama did this, then you go back to Wilson and his things related to, quote, sedition, and of course the Sedition Act under Adams. These are dangerous times, to be sure.
I have to be honest. When I was watching the press coverage of his speech, I felt like, wow, this is so glowing. And then afterwards, they're asking all these puff questions about color schemes, and I'm just like, really? So that's that's how this is gonna work?
Oh yeah.
It was kind of embarrassing.
They are now the megaphone for the state, which is a dangerous thing. The press should be a check on the state always, not occasionally, not depending on who's in the office.
Absolutely. Well, in the next 4 years, I have to be honest, or certainly the next 2 years, because maybe in 2 years from now, there'll be some limitations placed on his abilities in the congressional elections and the Senate elections. But bottom line is, I'm expecting some economic hard times, because the prescription he's writing, I feel like I'm looking at a doctor and I'm reading the prescription and going, this says strychnine. Why are you asking me to take strychnine pills? Really? And
we are.
That's just crazy.
We're at the same place we are in 2008 to a great degree. If you remember, Obama took over. It was in August and September that the investment bank fallout occurred. Obama winds up winning. The economy actually rebounded and was stable in January. And then the Obama administration came in with its $750 million, which we used to think was a big deal, spending program. But they started their regulatory war and push for Obamacare and tax increases. And so they took a weak economy and put weights on it in the form of tax and regulation. Basic economics will tell you more something costs, the less of it you get. That includes the economy as a whole, which is why I wrote at the Epoch Times this week, which is, I think, their number one op-ed right now, is 4 years of anti-economics ahead. And what I mean by that is The Biden administration is taking over a weak economy, and the laws of economics are very stable. If you increase it, look, jeans that cost $300 sell less than jeans that cost $25 because we are price sensitive human beings. That's the law of the demand. The more something costs, the less of it you get. And the Democrats are intent on increasing costs at all aspects of the economy, whether it's the minimum wage, whether it's taxes, whether it's energy prices. Yeah, he's already revoked. Remember he said, we need to work and consult with our allies. Well, the first thing he does is pull the Keystone Pipeline, which he didn't consult, and Canada's not happy about that. But in any case, we are facing, you saw today, I think, another 900,000 applied for unemployment. You have a very weak economy, and he is raising the regulatory costs already and is threatening tax increases, and all of those combined will result in a weak economy, which he will blame on the Trump administration for not stopping COVID.
Exactly. It'll all be his fault. It's going to be a repeat, quite frankly, of Obama. Obama spent his almost entire presidency blaming George Bush for everything.
Yeah. Right.
And it was kind of like, if you want to do that for the first few months, you can probably get away with it. It doesn't mean it's fact-based, but at least people go, well, but 8 years later, George Bush, wow, he's the most powerful man in the world. From Crawford, Texas, he's still screwing up the economy 8 years later. And I understand they say it was a strong economy, but the reality was that it mostly created, minimum wage jobs and part-time jobs. They weren't creating the manufacturing jobs that Donald Trump did.
Yeah. And then, of course, 2 years into the Trump administration, they started to take credit for it. But if you believe in economics, and most people on the left simply do not. In fact, a lot of Republicans don't believe in economics because the basic, everybody hears about supply and demand. Greater supply pushes a downward pressure on prices because of the foundational idea of the law of demand. The more something costs, the less of it you get. You cannot say you believe in economics and then say, okay, we can raise all these costs and it won't hurt the economy. You just don't believe in economics. You believe in your program, but it flies in the face of economics. They're going to do that now. And then they're going to express shock that it didn't work out. They're going to blame someone else. They're going to blame capitalists for holding back money, just like Ayn Rand told us and George Orwell. That's their program.
Yeah, and imagine if we were getting on a plane and you found out that the pilot of the plane didn't believe in the law of aerodynamics. And that he rejected all the rules of aerodynamics. I'm scrambling to get off that plane real fast. But somehow we elected a pilot, as it were, who doesn't believe in the laws of aerodynamics. And yet there half the country's like, yay! It's like, okay, this is not going to end well. He's going to fly the plane to the side of a mountain somewhere.
Yeah, and you have Janet Yellen, who used to talk about the dangers of minimum wage increases. Now they're going to push for a federal minimum wage of $15, which is meaningless in San Francisco because cost of living there is so high anyway. But it will destroy jobs through much of the country, as much as 3.7 million. That's the CBO. That's not me. That's not some right-wing economist.
Office, right?
That's the CBO. And who holds those jobs? Entry-level people in their 20s, mainly. And so they're going to be priced out of the job market. That simple. If I decided as an attorney to raise my hourly fees to $2,000 an hour overnight, I would lose all my clients because they would go somewhere else. The same thing applies with the minimum wage. And the somewhere else is either shutting down or, bringing in equipment that will do the job. Because there's businesses out there who automation is their bread and butter. So they're gonna gut the middle class. They're gonna raise gas prices on them, raise the minimum wage, and they will lose income. And they're doing this not when the economy is doing well, but when it continues to limp along, because there are good sectors, but there is also many sectors that are not, just like the stock market. There are good sectors, and there's some that are going down, like Twitter.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the good news, at least, is we won't be offended by the former president's tweets. We may all be starving to death. We may be freezing because there's no energy. China may become the world's sole superpower, but at least we won't be offended.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are up against the clock. We've got to take a quick break. I just want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Tom Del Beccaro, and we will be right back. But if you've missed any portion of the show, or you want to rebroadcast, you want to see it again, or share it with your friends, ccrshow.com is the place to go.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you're here. We've got the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, the AUN-TV Network, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. We've been talking with Tom Del Beccaro, and you all know Tom if you've been watching this show because, or if you watch Fox News or Newsmax. So the reality is Tom is highly sought after because, quite frankly, Tom's a smart guy. And I would recommend a book he's written, not because you need to proof that he's smart, but because you want to get smart like Tom is, The Divided Era. It really helps describe how we got where we are today, where we're so divided and what it means. And it gives you an historical analysis, but I would recommend that. But anyhow, Tom, I'm glad you could stick through the break because there's more to discuss. Obviously, as the former chairman of the Republican Party in California, you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on there. And there's obviously a big, if you will, upheaval, yeah, with our with the governor, Gavin Newsom. So fill us in on what's going on there. One, how is Gavin doing?
Yeah. Gavin is flailing away at this point. He's just not up to the job. Some people are good at their job, some people aren't, and he's not. Every major issue in California, there's a problem. Can't deliver electricity consistently, can't deliver water. Public safety was an issue this summer. The wildfires are consistently an issue because he hasn't led on that. Then businesses have been leaving, and he's done little to address that situation. And now COVID comes along. And of course, in April, he and Cuomo demanded that when Trump said he'd decide when the country would open or not, they said, no, we will. So Trump said within 24 hours, okay, you will. And he has bungled that. He instead of allowing it to open during the summer months where people could develop immunity, herd immunity and the like, they delayed, pushed it towards the winter. And that was, of course, where it was going to likely come back, according to their own estimates, the worst. And now California has the highest rates, and they've blown the vaccine rollout, even though they have had months and months and months to prepare for that. You know what? He's just not good at his job. And one of the reasons is he just relies on government at every turn, gives a heed to government unions at every turn, and things aren't officially done. So recall effort started. I am assisting that now with my group called RescueCalifornia.org. That's RescueCalifornia.org. We have over 1.2 million signatures so far for his recall. We need 1.495 valid signatures. We think we're going to turn in closer to 1.9 overall. We're going to qualify this, and there'll be a recall election in August.
Wow, that's interesting.
And we are the focal point of the country now when it comes to resisting bad government.
Yeah.
This would be a big deal if California can do this. And quite honestly, the blood's in the water now. Democrats are talking about running. The press isn't glowing towards him. They see this as the recall is at least gonna make the ballot. And then there'll be a fight among Democrats whether they get in line behind a bad governor, or move on to someone who has a chance to actually do some good things. So it should be an exciting year in California. Y'all should come out.
Yeah, it sounds like it. One of the things that I think is interesting is, a state like Florida has remained largely open. I mean, they've obviously taken precautions. It's not as if they did nothing. The governor basically focused his efforts on the most vulnerable. So, for example, Florida has a significant senior population because it's a popular place to retire. No income tax, nice weather. It has a lot of what California has to offer, minus the low income tax. But bottom line is it attracts a lot of seniors. So you would expect them to have a bigger problem with COVID since it has a disproportionate population that's vulnerable. And yet they've managed to avoid that, and they haven't closed it down. They haven't. They've taken the precautions you might expect them to that are science-based, but they didn't just lock everything down, make going to church a crime, all this other crazy stuff that other states have done. And it seems to me that it's now been borne out, the science and the proofs in the pudding, is that this idea of locking people down doesn't work.
Disney World's been open since, I want to say, July, and Disneyland here has been shut down the whole time. Yeah, you're right. just pure shutdowns just delayed things with regard to COVID. But San Francisco, I believe, has had more suicides than COVID deaths, or no, more drug overdoses than COVID deaths. And we all know that all the other delays and lack of treatment for other illnesses has been really bad. COVID's not the only thing facing America, but now we have a president who thinks that, and on and on and on. So yeah, he's failed at every level, and no one can really think of something he's done well. So that's why he's in trouble. Of course, he wanted to be president of the United States. He shouldn't get anywhere near the presidency because he can't even handle being governor, and he's unable to bring people together in some sort of cooperative manner to get things done. Why didn't he put together a commission on how to deal with PG&E? Why didn't he put together a commission to deal with wildfires and actually do something? He put together a reopening commission. They created a report and he shelved it, and nothing's gone on. He's just not capable. Yeah. And that's why we're having so much success at rescuecalifornia.org.
Well, that's certainly important. One of the things I think people misunderstand about California is they think, oh, it's a liberal bastion, everyone there's liberal. It's like, no, it's a 55-45 or a whatever roughly proposition. There's a ton of people who are conservative in California. They're just not quite 50% plus one. And,
yeah. And of course, it's a red county, blue county divide, just like we have red state, blue states.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And so I think people misunderstand. But it is telling that a state that leans strongly over the entire state on the statewide election towards the left is contemplating getting rid of a former, a governor considered formerly, maybe until recently, of presidential mettle. And all of a sudden now they're ready to throw him overboard.
People want to work. They need to provide for their families. And he's blocking that at every turn, and irrationally so. He's created these 5 regions that are ridiculous. You have counties that have one person for every 2 miles in with counties that have urban centers.
Yeah. And if you have one citizen every 2 miles, you're already social distancing.
Right. Yeah. He's not good at his job. And the problem with that is he's putting other people out of their jobs. And that's why so many are signing this. And it's not just a Republican thing. It is unquestionably bipartisan, because unemployment is hitting so many people across the board and driving out small businesses and large.
Right. When they started off by saying we're going to have 15 days to flatten the curve, I think most people were like, yeah, I can deal with that. That's not beyond the pale. But this idea that, we're now getting close to a year of 15 days to flatten the curve. We'll be coming up on that in another month or two. And it's just like, people can't make it that long. Some people actually live paycheck to paycheck, but almost nobody can just kind of like take off for a year. Bill Gates can. But I don't know about you. I certainly cannot I don't have the resources to just say, yeah, I'll take a year off.
Yeah, I'd love to take a week off.
Yeah, there you go. So let's talk a little bit about how people can get behind this effort. Some of us are obviously not in California, so you don't need to sign your petition.
In fact, you can't, but...
Right, but you can help fund, though, because this is the reality is if you get rid of Gavin Newsom, that helps all of us. It's not just Californians.
Yeah, you're right, because California, because of bad policies, needs a lot of federal money, especially when it comes to welfare. And you're paying for that if you're in Oklahoma or New Jersey or Maine or Florida or Alaska. So rescuecalifornia.org, our low-dollar donations have hit, just our group, have hit nearly $300,000 in 2 months. We only budgeted for the 5-month haul. We only budgeted, believe it or not, for $200,000, and we're already at 3, and we still have 2 months to go. Wow. But we need the money because we are direct mailing people. Because of the shutdown, you can't get to paid signature gatherers or sitting on the corner is very, very inefficient. So direct mail is what we're doing, and you can go to rescuecalifornia.org and give to that, and that would be great.
Excellent. That sounds awesome. Tom, how can people follow the work that you do, get your book, The Divided Era? Let's make sure that everyone is able to have the full benefit of your knowledge?
Well, right now I would suggest people go to politicalvanguard.com. You can get my latest op-ed that was in the Epoch Times. You can get updates on the recall and, of course, the news service there. But anyone, if you're listening to my voice, and you can go to rescuecalifornia.org, and $10 will help us in our mail effort, or a lot more if you like. But we're having a good run of it, and common sense is breaking out in California, and help us bring it across the finish line. Great seeing you, George.
It's great to see you too. Thanks so much for joining us. And to our listeners and viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He is Tom Del Beccaro. We'll be right back after these messages, but if you missed anything, you want to rebroadcast, share with your friends, ccrshow.com is the place to go.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to the Conservative Commandos radio network, the AUN-TV network, that's the America Uncensored News Network. And of course, if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers that carries our signal, Al Gore thoughtfully provided the internet. Isn't he great? But we truly are everywhere, and we're glad you're here. I often point out we're not probably in China or North Korea, but, everywhere else. I'm George Landreth. I'm one of your Conservative Commandos hosts today. I'm glad you're around, and I am really glad to have our next guest. He doesn't really feel like a guest because he's part of the family. Dan Gainor. He is the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. He's also a veteran editor. He's published, and his work has been I guess, broadcast in just about every publication or television or network you can imagine. And that's because Dan is always saying smart stuff. So with that, Dan, thanks for joining us once again at the Conservative Commandos.
Well, thank you. And we're certainly in what one could loosely describe as an eventful week. We're witnessing the transfer of power from the America First crowd to the America Last crowd. And we're witnessing the American news media go from what you could call the fifth column to a PR agency. And for people who don't know, the fifth column is a famous reference to people who undermine a government. That's what the press spent 4+ years doing with Trump, doing everything they could to destroy his administration. And now they're like, oh, we're not journalists. We're going to do press. So they talk about
cheerleaders now.
Yes, Biden's dogs. Oh my gosh, he's got cute dogs. There's going to be, and this is an actual news story quote, an inauguration. Yes, I kid you not. They did a story. Jane Pauley from CBS did a story that focused in part on the Converse tennis shoes that Kamala Harris wears. They're talking about the Peloton that Ordinary Joe has his Peloton, by the way, just in case you're curious about that. So that's been the sort of feel-good thing, but nothing prepares you for the gasmic, let's just go with that, result. I'll start with a guy who I've been harassing a lot on Twitter lately, and that's Michael Beschloss, who's NBC News, his presidential historian, who is just a complete and utter demented hack. I mean, he spends all his time, he's like tweeting images of like every dictator known to man and going off on all these little digs about Trump. I mean, he's got issues, man. He's got a serious problem. So he's talking about how Biden's speech was terrific, modest, austere, brave, cleansing, calming, and inspirational.
But every time Trump spoke, it was hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. But it was exactly what you want today. Shep Smith, we remember Shep Smith when he was on another network and much hated while he was there. It felt cathartic, heartfelt. It ended with a feeling of hope springing eternal. Cecilia Vega from ABC, he also used this moment to attempt to reclaim truth. Margaret Brennan, who I used to like, his speech was really resonant for all of us as journalists. You're not a journalist. You're a hack. Let's be honest. Come on.
If you wanted to say it nice, you could say they're cheerleaders, if you didn't want to use the word hack. But to call them journalists is ridiculous.
I want to use the word hack.
No, I'm fine with the word hack. I think it's probably more accurate. But I do find it funny that they're going to basically be over there, for the next 4 years, cheering him on, telling us how awesome he is.
Oh, and how dare you challenge any of these wonderful things he wants to do that are destroying America and basically hate you. George Stephanopoulos, the guy who used to, clean up the dirty laundry for Bill Clinton, now, of course, is an anchor at ABC News. Most of us will remember where we were when we heard Joe Biden take the oath of office, give his inaugural address. Where I was? I was probably sitting at my desk ignoring it. Just, that's it. But then we get into the real propaganda lines. He's talking to Cecilia Vega. Cecilia Vega, unity, the theme of the day, the theme of his inaugural ceremony, the theme of Joe Biden's presidential campaign, clearly going to be the early theme of his presidency. He said, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together. Now, let's clarify something about that. Here's the guy, only in September, was, by the way, comparing Donald Trump to Goebbels, a Nazi, an actual, not like we don't like him, we're going to call him Nazi. No, like an actual certifiable, I'm going to kill 6 million Jewish people, Nazi, to take over the world. Oh, and then, all the hateful things that he said about Trump supporters and all this. And they're in the middle of trying a second impeachment for a president who, by the way, is no longer in office, and they hate him so much and they want to keep him out of politics so much that they're trying to impeach him. But they mean unity. I was mentioning to you off air.
You keep using that word unity. I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Yes, exactly. So you're making one movie reference. I'm going to make the other. So one of I love the Avengers movies. Absolutely love the Avengers movies. And if the actual Avengers, the original Avengers movie, there's a scene in it where Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury confronts Loki for the first time. And, and he says to Loki, he's like, you talk of peace, but I kind of think you mean the other thing. You talk of unity, but I kind of think you mean the other thing. And what they mean is surrender for the right. You will do what we tell you to do. So here's, it just goes on from there. Another presidential historian, Mark Updegrove, echoes of Lincoln on the eve of the Civil War in 1861, the worst domestic crisis that we've ever faced as a nation. This today was a triumph of democracy. You know what's a triumph of democracy? 4 years ago, when Donald Trump got elected, and they called it Hitlerian. You're right on that. And they did everything they could to undermine him. Yeah. So it's only
His speech
a triumph.
was dark, and
right.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm sorry, you people aren't even serious.
It's only a triumph of democracy when their side wins. That's the default.
Yeah. Yeah, and unity means we agree with them and we just kind of say, okay, fine, whatever you want. That's what they think unity means, is we just shut up and take it.
So here's, Martha Raddatz, who's really, awful person. If you remember from the debates, the rest of the world will also see a new chapter. They'll see that democracy survived. They'll know that Joe Biden will take on a new agenda, and there will be people who will agree with that, who will not agree with that. I'm sure North Korea isn't too happy that they lost their friend in the White House. Donald Trump did something that I don't remember the last time a U.S. president did. He didn't get us in new wars. So he wasn't friends with, Kim Jong-un. He tried to make peace with him. There's a huge difference.
He was also tough enough on him to make it to make it clear that you'd rather make peace with me than not make peace with me.
Yep.
And
Byron Pitts
that's negotiating from a position of strength, and they make it sound like he was somebody.
Here's Byron Pitts referring to Biden as America's Papa in Chief, and I just want to puke. I flat out want to puke. Because that's so ridiculous. They talk about him being from Scranton. He's from Scranton like I'm from Alexandria. I think I spent more time in Alexandria. I lived in Alexandria for 3 years. He was like in Scranton for a cup of coffee when he was a baby. And he grew up, this is, they want to portray this fantasy here. I'm not down with it. It just goes on and on. And it's really worth hearing all this. Remember that, Trump, very few olive branches. They're impeaching Trump a second time. And they're saying this is lofty rhetoric. It's not what you see. This is actually a classic journalism thing. And I know we're up against the break, but a classic journalism thing. They don't care. They care what you say and how you say it. That's why one of the big things they hated about Trump. Trump was a straight talker. If he said something, he meant it. They don't want you to mean anything. They want you to say lofty rhetoric and then do something entirely else. They want you to lie to the American public. If you don't lie to the American public, they don't want to talk to you.
That makes sense. I mean, it is frustrating, but you're right. We are up against the break, so we should just take a quick break, take care of some business. Fortunately, you can stick around because I know we've got lots more to talk about, and I always enjoy having you on because the truth of the matter is it's always packed with all kinds of good stuff. So to our listeners and viewers, don't go away. He's Dan Gainor. I'm George Landreth, and we will be right back. If you've missed anything, our website is ccrshow.com. We will see you on the other side.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you stuck around. Dan Gainor and I have been having a great conversation about the media. And our biggest problem, quite frankly, is that we have so much to talk about, we could take up the entire program because the media is maddening sometimes. I do want to remind you that you can go to our website for more information, ccrshow.com. And I also want to give a shout out to our listeners on the Conservative Commandos radio network and on the AUN-TV network, our viewers there. We're glad you're with us. And some of you may not be near a broadcast hour, so you use Al Gore's amazing internet. We're glad to have you here too. And Dan, before the break, you were really kind of laying into the media and giving them a hard time. And quite frankly, they deserve it. So, and I felt bad the clock was interrupting us. So if I can you pick up where you left off?
I could just rant all day. For people who are curious about proof of all this stuff, it's on newsbusters.org. I'm literally just skim reading and cherry picking some of the worst that just really struck my fancy. But So here's Joy Reid. You remember Joy Reid? She's MSNBC host, famous liar about the old stuff in her blog, and she allegedly contacted the FBI and all that other stuff. So here's her. There is an old America and there is a new America. And the new America and the old America essentially went to war in 2020, physically in the same capital. And the new America won because new America got 80 million votes and old America got 72 million votes, which actually old America got more closer to 75, but she can't do math either. And we're still basically at war. No, we're not. Has this idiot ever seen a war or even a war movie? You lose more than a couple people in a riot, in a war. Because she goes on to talk about it being the Civil War and stuff. And she mentions Grant and Lincoln. And, we lost just, in the war for soldiers, 750,000 people in the Civil War at a time when our nation was vastly smaller. Ridiculously smaller than it is now. The equivalent of losing millions and millions of Americans now. And, there were skirmishes that hundreds of people died in. It was a horrible, bitter conflict. She's comparing this. It's like she knows nothing about history, which doesn't surprise me because she works at MSNBC. Then she talks about how God bless Joe Biden. This is truly deeply religious man with incredible compassion. So let's talk about Joe Biden's Catholicism for a second. For people who are not Catholic, Joe Biden has foundational differences with his faith. He's what we like to refer to, because I was raised Catholic, and as a cafeteria Catholic, which means it's like going to a cafeteria. I'll take one of those and one of those. I won't believe in all the stuff. I won't take the whole order. I'm just going to pick and choose, which is not how you get to be Catholic. So foundationally, he wants to kill babies in the womb. He loves killing babies in the womb. That's been who he is.
They used to say they wanted to make it safe, legal, and rare. And they gave
now
that up about 2 decades ago.
All the time.
Yeah, now they want to promote it, is what he said. Fourth trimester. For those who aren't good at math, that means the baby's already born.
Then there's Lawrence O'Donnell. Joe Biden had to deliver the speech of his life, and he did. In my lifetime, I have never seen a more challenging inaugural address. Joe Biden's message had to be about unity. It had to be delivered at a time when unity it seemed impossible in this country. Guess what? The unity crowd had no attendees and 25,000 troops in D.C., which is more than Lincoln had when Lincoln addressed his first inaugural back in 1861. So the unity crowd got unity by allowing very few people in the press and no protesters. Trump allowed protesters who then rioted, burned, and caused chaos, but Trump allowed protesters. They don't even trust people to allow protesters. Then here's more from the ever-present halfwit, which is Michael Beschloss, the NBC presidential historian. Let's see. For 4 years, history was hijacked by Donald Trump. Hijacked, like he has no right to be president. Who does Michael Beschloss get to be? And it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry, you're not an official president, but you are. You notice the commonality here. You're an official president if you have a D after your name. Okay, so, they talks about Franklin Delano Roosevelt facing the Great Depression. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, aside from the cheating on his wife, which he did, Franklin Delano Roosevelt put 100,000 people, many of them American citizens, into prison camps during World War II. 100,000. It is lost as an artifact to history, except for, a few people who vaguely remember this. This is what he did. Nobody talks about it. There's no little asterisk at the FDR Memorial in D.C. of like, oh, by the way, see the memorial for the the people, the Japanese Americans who were put in prison camps right next door. It's just they're just so inconsistent. Here is
If Richard Nixon had done that, or if Ronald Reagan had done that, we would never be allowed to forget it.
Oh, they would have purged the world of the Republican Party. Let's see. It was not a politics first speech. This is Casey Hunt. It was an American speech. It was a patriotic speech. It was named not just at all the people here, but the people across the country who frankly have been hurting in all kinds of ways from the coronavirus pandemic. You know why a lot of them are hurting for the coronavirus pandemic? Because government, in many cases run by the political party that just took over, stole their businesses and stole their jobs and locked them up in their homes and said, sorry, you can't come out and we're not going to compensate you. And now, according to Biden, we're going to compensate you, but only if you're the right color or gender. So if you're, it's like, oh, if you're a white guy, sorry, too bad. Here is Brian Williams, the professional liar whose resume is listed in Amazon under fiction. Let's see, America is back and under new management. Wait. So beset. Here he's talking about America, beset by two viruses, one a pandemic, the other the sickness that has flowed into our politics. Now, notice nobody's talking about the sickness that flowed into our politics when the left rioted, looted, burned, violently attacked police, and murdered people, murdered Trump supporters on the street. Oh, well, that's just standard politics. But when a bunch of idiots and then some rioters invade the Capitol, that some people really did harm and killed police officer. The two officers have now died. 3 other people died from medical circumstances. But a lot of the people who went into the Capitol didn't vandalize. They took selfies. Okay? I'm sorry, but taking selfies is, the last time I checked, not a felony. But I
don't know. Can you imagine meeting someone in a dark alley who had taken a selfie? I'm sure you just tremble.
This so that they can go to war with anybody on the right. You suddenly, now Al Sharpton suddenly wants, you can't have unity without accountability. I would like some accountability from Al Sharpton for the stuff that he did in New York, targeting Jewish community. Let's have some accountability for that. No.
Accountability for Republicans, not for Democrats.
This would, for Nicole Wallace, who's just a complete certifiable loon, the reason that the Republicans who, after criminal sedition was carried out in the Capitol, came out and voted to disenfranchise the voters and not certify the electoral vote count, which, by the way, Democrats have done several times, and nobody cared when they did it.
And they've done it every single time a Republican has won in this century.
Yeah, the reason they are allowed to mull about so comfortably today, even after that act, is because of Joe Biden's grace. No, it's actually because of the Constitution. Because when you vote in Congress, you're legally allowed to vote. You can't say that's an act of sedition when you're having a legal vote in Congress where you're allowed to say, hey, do you want to object? Yes, I want to object. Oh, sorry, we're going to lock you up.
Right. I mean, let's be honest. If voting that way was sedition, then the founders wouldn't have bothered putting it as a possibility. Why would you have a game where you allow people to commit sedition?
Let's see. Here's a guy who's a professional liar. Back to Brian Williams. A whole lot of people have a whole lot of explaining to do as history bears down on them. History, of course, always in a foot race with other kinds of uniquely American desire to fuzz up memories and gloss over all kinds of slights. This one may stay with us a while. Harris being sworn in sent this surge of energy go through those assembled. That's from Rachel Maddow, but she's a propagandist, so I'm willing to cut her some slack. Let's see. unlike Trump's, Biden's inaugural will be beloved by a vast majority of Americans. That's former Senator Claire McCaskill, and it just goes on. So here's what's important about all this. The reason why I want people to look at it is because this is what has happened to our news media. We don't have a news media. We have a media that is now going to spend 4 years taking every Biden controversy and shoving it under the rug, taking every story they want to promote that aids Biden and making it a big controversy, like they did for Biden for 8 years, or like they did for Obama for 8 years. This is not how a news media in a free country can operate. This is how a news media in a state-sponsored government media operates. This is how Pravda operated under the Soviet Union. This is how Al Jazeera operates. This is how Cuban media operates, and Venezuelan media operated, and Chinese media. Which, by the way, Chinese media tweeted out that they were good riddance or something to Donald Trump, and I'm thinking, oh, let's see. They're sad. They're happy to see Donald Trump go. What does that say about Joe Biden?
Yeah.
What does that say about
their payroll
Biden and his willingness to work for China?
Yeah. He has a China first policy. I think I like the America first policy better.
Yep.
But you guys do great work at the Media Research Center. So tell our listeners and viewers how they can follow all the things that you're doing.
I write a lot for FoxNews.com. You can find me there on Fox News Opinion. We also have newsbusters.org. I really urge you to go there because we've got a lot of thoroughly entertaining stuff there right now. You can find us on mrc.org, and you can find me on Twitter until I'm deplatformed at Dan Gainor. And when Parler comes back, I'll be there.
Thanks so much for joining us, Dan. It's always great to have you on the program. To our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had
my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show. Thanks to the AUN-TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers that carries our signal. We truly are everywhere. Well, maybe not in China and North Korea, because I think they, in Iran probably, because I think the regimes there wouldn't let the people who advocate for liberty and freedom. But everywhere else we're there. I'm George Landreth. I'm glad you're with us. The Conservative Commandos is definitely the place you want to be. We have a guest I'm very excited about, Frank Lassay. He's a former state senator from Wisconsin. He's also a former member of Scott Walker's administration. Many of you remember Governor Walker. He was just a fabulous champion of freedom. So that gives you a little idea about what Frank's about, and we're glad to have him here. He is an expert on energy and the environment as well, and climate, so we're going to have a great conversation. With that, Frank, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Well, thank you for having me on. Thanks for everybody out there listening.
Absolutely. Well, Frank, I wanted to jump in. You've written a really good article, and you talk about what we might expect when it comes to the environment and some of the issues that we see with, the new administration and what we should expect from Joe Biden. And I have to be honest, I have pretty low expectations.
I actually have negative expectations from Biden administration. He's indicating a lot of bad things. They're going to hurt jobs, they're going to hurt the economy, and they're going to make a full court press on pushing a green agenda down our throats, whether we like it or not. Joining the Paris Agreement, rejoining it is going to be very expensive. They want us to contribute billions of dollars so that they can build, intermittent wind and solar power in other countries, in poorer countries. That's one aspect that's going to be coming down the pike. The other is the closing of the Keystone Pipeline. The oil is still going to be shipped, but it'll come over in tankers, and then it might get on rail. And that actually, for goals of reducing CO2, as they all say they want to do, which I don't believe is an important thing to do right now, we're going to see many negative things in that area. And the other is electric vehicles. And that's the article you referred to that I recently wrote on Real Clear Markets. That's where people could find that article on electric vehicles and what's going on with it. And it's expensive. And what we're going to see happen is electric costs going up and up and up. And that actually affects poor people the most because a larger portion of their budget is going towards energy costs. We're also going to see gasoline go up, I believe, as well. So more money coming out of people's pockets. Wealthy people can afford that more easily. Poor people cannot. And often poor folks are people of color. And they're talking about, environmental justice, whatever that means, and economic justice, whatever that means. But taking more money out of people's pockets isn't justice. It isn't justice.
Right. Well, and you make a very good point. If you are, a single mom who's working two jobs to try to give your kids a better life and you're struggling, when gas prices go up or when it costs more to heat your home or, cool your home or just keep the lights on so the kids can do their homework, that hits you hard. It may not hit Bill Gates hard, but it's certainly going to hit that single mom hard. And I often wonder why they don't ever think of that. Because, they pretend like that's their constituency and that you and I could care less about those people. That we couldn't care less, and yet that's not the case. We're the ones who actually are watching out for them.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because it's ideology over people. And yet they talk a good game, and they have complicit media in many places. The mainstream media sells a storyline that somehow they're for people when they're really against poor people. Somehow they're for workers when they're really against workers, which is really, really unfortunate. And to go a little bit further on the analogy that you use, that single mom, working a couple jobs, trying to get ahead, provide for her kids, she's very likely driving a used car. And electric used cars are going to be very much of an issue in the future. She's highly unlikely to be buying a new electric vehicle because really, only the more well-off can afford to buy more expensive electric vehicles. That's just the case. That's the reality. So she's unlikely to be buying one. And someday when she goes to the used car market again, it's going to become a real problem for her as well because the batteries wear out.
That's another interesting point is they always act like the electric car is this really great friend of the environment. And my understanding is those batteries are actually horrible for the environment.
Well, yeah, they are. And first, I want to say, I think electric cars are pretty cool. I think the technology is there. There's some nice things about them. The electric motor is actually, probably a better, more simple motor with less parts than a combustible motor, but it has many other drawbacks, and all things are a trade-off. And electric vehicles, the batteries that go into them and the construction of them, they actually weigh double a regular car, a gas-powered car, because of that electric vehicle, the battery. So that's one issue, that you have very heavy vehicles running down the road with more, especially when they start making SUVs and pickup trucks that are electric. They're going to be really heavy. And when a really heavy something hits something that's much lighter, who takes the brunt of that accident? That's one aspect, the safety aspect. And what you talked about is absolutely right. There are several different rare earth metals and metals that aren't easily recycled and are caustic, dangerous, poisonous. And there isn't a good way to recycle batteries at this time. And we're talking about eventually millions upon millions. And to give you an idea of the scope, just in the United States, there are 285 million cars on the road right now. Only about 1.4 million are electric vehicles, only 0.5% of all the cars on the road right now. And there are 1.2 billion cars in the world. So if they're successful in the United States, just using us as an example, and converting to 150, 200 million cars are electric vehicles, as they wear out, where are those batteries going to go? How are we going to take care of those? And we should have some kind of a plan. That's one aspect. The other aspect of that is not only the rare earth and the problems with it, but literally 85% of those metals are either produced in China or the production of them are owned by China. The green people are supporting the EVs and this new coming in administration. They don't want mining. So you don't want mining, but you want to get us off fossil fuels, and you want to put us in electric vehicles, but we're going to give all that control over the Chinese, and the Chinese can't be trusted. They use their control, and we'll be at their mercy. And it's not just electric vehicles, it's the wind towers and the solar panels that they also want to push down our throats to support the electric vehicles.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous to me. I think you're right about, electric cars are cool, and I'm a big believer in the marketplace. So, my view would be is let consumers decide. And if consumers want electric vehicles and they can afford them and it suits their family needs, that's awesome. Who am I to tell them what, I'm sorry, I'm smarter than you. But at the same time, that's what they're kind of doing to us, is they're telling us this is the future. And it's kind of like, well, maybe it is. Let's see. Maybe it's not. Or maybe it's a niche thing where it'll be great for some things and not everything. And that could very well be. It may be that we have a hybrid sort of situation where you've got some all-electric vehicles, some hybrid vehicles, and maybe you still have some internal combustion engine vehicles depending on the need. Because the advantage, I think, of internal combustion engine is the concentration of the energy that can be contained in the tank that holds the fuel. And so maybe for very heavy, 18-wheelers, maybe they should continue to be diesel fuel. And maybe commuter cars will go electric, and maybe large family vehicles. I've got 7 children, my wife and I. Maybe it'll be somewhere in between. I don't know. We'll find that out when we get there. But I guarantee you one thing, bureaucrats don't know.
No, they don't, George. And we're spending our money unwisely. There's going to be a push from this administration. We're seeing it in some other states. North Carolina recently got permission from their regulators to put $6.5 million on the electric users' backs, because that's what this is going to happen. As the utilities put these in, we're all going to pay more for our electricity. They're going to add it in to create a grant program and give $215,000 per electric bus to buy electric buses. Now, to get more bang for your buck, that $215,000 could convert 21 different diesel buses into propane buses. Propane is much cleaner than diesel, so if CO2 is really the worry, if that's really what you're about, that $215,000 could convert 21 diesel buses to propane, a lot less CO2 in the air. But instead, they're going to create a grant program, and a diesel bus, by the way, a school bus, costs $200,000 to $400,000. So the school bus, the schools are going to have to cough up even more money to pay for these buses. They're more expensive. And to your point about diesel, propane, and other fuel sources, fossil fuels, could be a lot better answer and get us to CO2 reduction if that's important. I don't really believe it's all that important, but there are people who do, and obviously the new administration does. But they're at the top of it. I've read someplace long ago that it might make sense for 2-car families to have a gas-powered vehicle and an electric vehicle. And I know someone, a family member that just bought one, and that's exactly the situation they're in. And they're kind of finding out how this all works for us. And it leads to other issues. If a significant number, we have hundreds of, 100 million, say we have 100 million electric vehicles. Well, what happens if our grid goes down? what happens if we don't have enough power? Because at the same time, we're pushing people into electric cars, which is going to increase the amount of electricity we're going to need, and we're going to have to pay for it. So our electric rates are going to go up. They're also pushing wind and solar as the only generation sources on our electric grid. And when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, there will be no electricity.
Yeah, you make some very good points there. We're up against the clock, Frank, so I think what we'll do is take a break right here, but I'm glad you can stick around because there's more to discuss. Just remind our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you're with us. I'm George Landreth, your host today, and of course I am with Frank Lasay, and he and I will be right back, so don't go away. But if you need to check out anything, you missed something, you want to rebroadcast, you can always get that at ccrshow.com.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and zero deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. We're glad you stuck around. I have been talking with Frank Lasay. He is a state senator, was a state senator from Wisconsin. He also served in Governor Scott Walker's administration from Wisconsin. And he's an expert on environmental and energy issues. And you know, the reality is it's part of the backbone of our economy. So he's an expert on something that really matters. And I would argue one of the reasons we saw up until we had the problems with COVID and everything, a strong economy, was we were doing a lot right in the energy field, and that bore a lot of fruit that was quite good. But Frank, thanks for sticking around. It's good to have you on with us, and I really appreciate your expertise.
Well, thank you. And you mentioned something, and I only found this out, researching. It was never very well publicized because, of course, everything President Trump did was bad and wrong. But we became energy independent last year, the first time since 1957. I think that should have been, we should have been singing the praises of that. That's also the reason, first time in multi-decades, that we didn't have a war under this president, because we can take care of all of our own energy needs. And we are still energy independent. It means we export more than we import. And that makes us all safer. I am very concerned that with this new administration, as they shut down fracking on federal lands, close down pipelines, generally make it more difficult. It's kind of death by a thousand cuts for the fossil fuel industry. In the fossil fuel industry, oil and natural gas and coal provide 80% of the world's energy. I mean, 80% of the world's energy. And we use huge amounts of it, and that's another thing that people just don't understand at all. There are 8 billion tons of coal burned annually in the world, and China burns more than all other countries. They burn more than half. And they're increasing their coal usage. Right now, China is building literally hundreds of coal-fired power plants, both in China and around the world. They're financing them and building them. While the West decarbonizes, the East and Africa are ramping up, 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 up. That's one part, so there's coal. We use 36 billion barrels of oil annually in the world. The United States uses 20 million barrels of oil every single day. And then we use 4,000 billion metric cubic meters. I have to get that right. 4,000 billion metric cubic meters of natural gas. We just know those are really, really, really big numbers. But we use those every year, and that drives the economy around the world. It feeds the people. We have 7.8 billion people on Earth, and more people are eating better and living better than ever before, and we just take that for granted. And that somehow we hear, and you earlier pre-show, we were talking about how the media loves to tell us and sell us how great wind and solar and electric vehicles and all these things are, more so than they actually are. And that's absolutely correct. And we just kind of ignore the fact that we have really good lives, most Americans, most people in the world, and better lives than any time in the history, with more people at 7.8 billion because of oil, coal, and natural gas. And wind and solar just aren't real replacements yet or ever.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes people think that, energy is a dirty word, but the reality is, one of the reasons why our life expectancies have gone higher, one of the reasons, all the different things that we enjoy, that makes us, this modern world that we enjoy and like, if people say, oh, it's technology. Well, perhaps, but it's all fueled by energy. Energy is what did it. There was a time when energy, if you wanted to plant crops, you either, harnessed yourself behind a plow, or you were wealthier and could have an ox or something like that, or a team of mules or something. But that was the way you do it. Now we have tractors, and so we can produce so much more. It's so much more efficient. That means people don't starve. That's energy. And I think sometimes people don't appreciate, even the ability to transport food. It used to be that everyone got their food from largely within 100 miles of where they lived. So if you had a localized drought, people were in deep trouble, because you didn't have the ability to transport food long distances. It's hard to have a drought worldwide now. So the reality is there may be a drought, and we see that happen where like, oh, wow, I'm going to have to pay more for orange juice this year because the price went up because there was a big problem with oranges in California. But the reality is no one starves because we can use the world marketplace and go out. And that's all possible as energy. I wish people would give it its due.
Well, and exactly right. Give it its due. And the other thing is refrigeration and air conditioning. But refrigeration that we're all just take for granted uses and major, it's just not just refrigeration inside our home, but in the warehouses that are refrigerating all kinds of things and freezing foods. All those things take a tremendous amount of energy. Our cell phones that we're using, the internet that we all take for granted, uses huge amounts of energy. And it's not just a cell phone that you and I hold, or the computer that we have plugged in at our home. It's the data centers, and all of those sort of things use huge amounts of energy, particularly for young people. It's a head scratcher because they take all this for granted. They're on their phones all the time. They're jumping in their car to drive around, but yet they feel green movement. We got to do all this stuff. And as Greta Thunberg said, you're stealing my future. Well, no, we're giving you a future. We're giving you a future, and this is getting food from crops for the food to service billions of people. planting it, getting it all the way in process to the table needs all that energy, and it isn't going to be a quick changeover, and it isn't going to be cheap. That's the other part of all of this that nobody's really talked about, is how expensive it is. And they've done a great sales job of, well, wind and solar is free. Once you install it, it's all free. And there's some truth to that, in that they don't employ many people. Once you put a solar installation in or wind towers in, it employs almost no one. But then they wear out in 20 to 25 years and have to be replaced. So is it renewable or just replaceable? And then the other thing that people really don't understand is our electric grids work on electrons on and electrons off. If they don't equal, you get a blackout. So when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, there's no electricity, or you got to go someplace else. They've been selling us that just around the corner now for decades, we're going to have wonderful big batteries. I read a really interesting report that New York is investing in a big battery that'll supply just a fraction of New York's needs for just 1 hour. Just 1 hour. And it's going to cost $500 million. And they would need thousands more in order to back up wind and solar, because wind and solar could go for a day or longer with neither one producing any significant electricity. Battery power just isn't there. And when we're talking $1 trillion just for New York or more, think about what that would mean for the rest of the country. So these things are extremely expensive. We take that for granted. And the other part is geopolitically. The Chinese are ramping up. They're using more oil and gas than ever. And this goes to the Paris Accord. They get a buy in the Paris Accord. They get to their peak, they say, is going to be at 2030 or 2035 is when they'll reach their max level of putting out emissions into the atmosphere. And from there, they'll go down to zero in, a mere 25 years. I mean, really. And now China is a country we know, he says one thing and then goes about doing another thing. Or they keep every promise, as Bill Clinton was famously known for, as they kept every promise he meant to keep. I think the Chinese keep every promise they mean to keep, and they tell us one other thing. So they're wrapping up with coal right now, probably to, they're looking forward as the West continues to increase our energy costs. Our economy is going to go down. Even more jobs are going to go to Asia and China and Africa, because they're going to be the low-cost producers. And they get that. And in the meanwhile, we're doing crazy stuff in Europe. People don't understand this, but just on the 10th of January, Europe almost had a complete blackout. They came very close to their entire electric grid going down. And on the 10th, coincidentally, all of Pakistan, 210 million people, had their electricity turned off for several hours. So that's the other part of this whole part. The dark side of this, the blackout side of this, is you force everybody on the electric grid, and then the electric grid becomes unstable because of wind and solar and the lack of batteries, and then it goes down for some reason. And then how does everything work? I mean, these are real considerations we should be thinking about.
Indeed. You make some very good points. And I wish someone like Joe Biden would put you in his cabinet and listen to you. But sadly, I have a feeling you may not have a lot of sway with him. But Frank, can you let our listeners and viewers know how they can follow the work that you do? You can follow me. My last name is spelled Lasee, Frank Lasee. So you could look me up that way. I also have a small, it's beginning website, Truth in Energy and Climate. And in that, I just really want to put out facts. So you're not getting opinion pieces like I've written for other places and will continue to do. But this is just simply facts that really, if you look at the facts, the whole, it's never been warmer, for instance. Well, we're digging trees out from underneath the glaciers that are 10,000 years old. Well, if it wasn't warmer, how did they get under the glacier? 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, Otzi the Iceman that was found in the Swiss Alps is 5,000 years ago. Well, they were there prior to a glacier, and now the glaciers are receding. And yet we're being told it was never warmer. And if it gets warmer, we're going to have disasters and the sea levels are going to rise. Well, the sea levels weren't higher back 1,000 years or 3,000 years or 10,000 years ago. So, a lot of the alarmist stuff that they say, you got to take a look at it. Now, I understand that people are given a steady diet of, catastrophe and more severe weather events, more fires, more droughts, more. And in fact, we're having less. The world is a bit warmer and a bit wetter than it was 100 years ago. And that's why, energy and climate. Energy is so important because it provides our ability to do everything. Now, climate is being used to drive some really expensive policies that are going to harm us in the long term. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Frank. I really appreciate the time that we've had with you. Just to our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos, and I want to remind you, our website, ccrshow.com, is a place you can get rebroadcast if you've missed a past show, or maybe just tuned in and missed a lot of what Frank and I were talking about and you want to catch up. ccrshow.com is the place to go. Don't go away. The Conservative Commandos will be right back.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Well, George, that just about wraps it up for today's show. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. And, George, I also want to thank all the people that have sent me best wishes on my surgery, wishing me a speedy recovery, lots of prayers, lots of blessings. And, when you go through something, you could always find out who your true friends are. And believe it, I know It's greatly appreciated by me, and I'll never forget. But George, speaking of being grateful, we had 3 great guests joining us today.
Indeed, we did. Tom Del Beccaro gave us some great updates about what we saw this week and what's going on in California with Governor Newsom. And then Dan Gainor is always a wealth of information when analyzing what the media is up to and the hypocrisy and lies that they tell. And then we had a new guest, Frank Lassay, who state senator in Wisconsin, member of Governor Walker's administration. A great conversation about energy and what the Biden administration is going to be doing and how that could really hurt Americans. And interestingly enough, hurt Americans who can ill afford to be hurt. In other words, the people who have the least financial ability to absorb that sort of shock.
High energy cost. Here they come, George. Here they come.
Absolutely.
But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.